Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Summer of Sport. In its waning days, this is a BookTube event created for the whole of the summer by Mark at Booktime with Elvis to throw a little attention to sports literature, which doesn't always get a lot of attention, either on BookTube or off. And I have been doing that on and off all summer long. I did it last summer as well. I found a lot of great books that way. A lot of books that I definitely would not have found otherwise. And yesterday, I talked to you about a tennis classic, a book of tennis that tennis aficionados have told me for years is a cult classic, that it's definitely the tennis book I need to read, etc., etc. And when I was discussing it yesterday, I mentioned that there were all kinds of little scenes and little characters that would have been better done in the hands of a better writer. And I think at one point in that video, I mentioned, that I was reading these scenes and I was imagining, well, how would this be if John Feinstein had written it? Who's a name as a sports writer of real talent. He's a name that even I know. And I was thinking about that yesterday afternoon and last night when I was arranging my night's reading, and decided just to read a John Feinstein book. So I read Hard Courts by him. I believe this is a first-time read. I could be wrong about that. There were parts of it that seemed familiar to me, but I'm not sure if that's not just because this was one of the last times I was paying attention to professional tennis. This is about the 1990 tennis season. So you have figures like Andre Agassi or Pete Sampras. That's Martina Navratilova on the cover, and all sorts of other names that some of them bit players here that are going to go on to become giant names in the game in a couple of years. Feinstein looks at 1 year, and it does it very similar way to the book that I talked about yesterday. It is just a hard look at one season behind the scenes of professional tennis here in the American circuit. But it's better done. I loved this. Just loved it. The author has an absolutely perfect ear for how to start a scene, when to start it, and especially when to end it. There's none of the usual cry in my beer nostalgia that is an endemic weakness of sports literature. An endemic temptation of sports literature, of sports writers, is always to do that. Actually, that kind of stupid, lachrymose sentimentality runs through, or at least once ran through, all of journalism, not just sports journalism. I remember being struck by that when I back in the old days when I was reporting to newsrooms, when I was working in newsrooms. I remember being struck by that all of society outside this newsroom is changing and is looking forward to things, and inside this newsroom, all the men are wearing hats and talking about their 15 kids, when I know perfectly well how much you're making a week. It's that kind of weepy nostalgia tends to fill sports journalism. It keeps tourist attractions like the Cheers bar here in Boston going. It's no coincidence that Cheers is a bar run and owned by in the show run and owned by ex-athletes and ex-coaches. And that is often true, and I was worried about that. I always worry about that. I have a feeling, I don't know John Feinstein, but I have a feeling that he is prone to it, but he scrupulously keeps it out of his books. At least all the ones that I've read. I haven't read everything he's written, but whether or not this was a first read, I loved it. The drama of tennis, which is very hard to do. It's very hard to convey that in the written word. Famously, there are a couple of famous novels that have failed to do that. One of them is 1,000 pages long, and revered for doing the very thing it signally fails to do. It's very hard to convey the drama of tennis. Even harder, of course, as Ian Fleming fans will know, even harder to convey that drama when that drama is also deadly. It's just because the stereotypical video footage of people watching a tennis game is just them doing this, which doesn't look like it adds a lot of nuance to a plot. But Feinstein finds a way, and actually the number one tribute that I can give to this book is that the behind-the-scenes drama, people fighting with management, people fighting with each other, rivalries, bad blood, even the occasional knight-errant gesture of very goodwill against your own self-interest. All of that he manages to make 10 times more interesting than the matches themselves, which is wonderful. It's just wonderful. This summer has been full of them. This is another book for Summer of Sport where I'm just really glad I found it. I'm really glad I read it, or maybe reread it in this case, since there were sections of this that were familiar, and I can't tell whether or not that's from this book or because in 1990 or 1989, whatnot, I was also reading all the interviews. I was subscribed to Sports Illustrated, and I was reading all the interviews with all these tennis stars. So it could be that there are echoes there, and that I'd never actually read this book. But I'm really glad that I found it, because it was terrific. And we don't have many more days left in Summer of Sport. We have one more day left. I'm going to try and do another book tonight, so that we can send Summer of Sport out, on an active note. But so far, we're doing just fine. So I'm going to wrap this up. It's another recommend, and I'll be back. Thank you.